It looks like the Hobbit Trilogy is coming back to the big screen again. The Hobbit Trilogy Extended Editions will make a theatrical return this October. In addition to being the first time the Extended Editions will be shown in theaters, this run will also feature a new introduction from Jackson himself. TheOneRing.net released the following. Fathom Events and Warner Brothers are partnering to present the extended editions of all 3 Hobbit movies. Shown over 3 nights, the epic Peter Jackson trilogy will be the first time the extended editions have ever been released in theaters. Also included will be an exclusive introduction by director Peter Jackson. First night showing starts Monday, October 5th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. local time. Tickets will be regular admission prices for each movie. Clark, is it a good idea to re-release the Hobbit trilogy in theaters?
I mean, look, when I first kind of heard of this, I was like, really? Do we really need more theatrical time for this epic saga? But the 3-night thing is super cool, and Fathom is doing so many neat things.
Yeah, they do a lot of cool stuff.
They really do. Like they did the Jaws screening earlier this summer for the anniversary. They're doing neat stuff, getting things or cool fan events back into cinemas where they might not be able to do that with other, in other ways. So I think it's a nice treat for the fans. I think 3 nights is appropriate, and also it's cool for them to get to see the intro from Peter Jackson. So if this were like an extended campaign of come back out and see that, it'd be like, okay guys, really? But I think that this is a nice little treat for the fans, and it's a cool event.
I like the notion of this for a couple of, number one, I enjoyed the Hobbit films. Did I like them as much as any of the Lord of the Rings films? No, I did not. But I still like them. But by the end of it, and I can see why they did it in 3, but when it was all said, and I defended the decision to break it into 3, but by the end of the day, I was like, no, they should have stuck with their original plan of 2 films. And one of my biggest complaints was, and this is why I think it might work in this re-release, my biggest complaint was the last 2 movies in it, the second film, the first of the last 2, we'll call that the second film, was just all setup. It was just all setup. And then the third film was just all payoff. But it had been a year since I had seen the setup, so a lot of the payoff felt a little bit empty. Even though I enjoyed the film and I had a really good time watching it, it felt a little shallow because it's been a year since I saw the setup. We see that big confrontation between Thorin and Azog the Defiler, and it's like, okay, I'm supposed to feel all this because it's the big confrontation, but I haven't seen these 2 guys on screen together in 2 years since film 1. Right. So it had all that. Now, you release these movies back to back to back in 3 consecutive nights. I think that might make the story feel even like it has better flow. I think it might make, that the payoff, or I should say the setup to payoff, 1 night apart instead of a year apart, that might make it feel a lot better. But I do wish, so I like the idea, but I do wish they were just releasing the theatrical versions. This is already too long. This was 1 book split into 3 movies that should have been split into 2. So I don't dig the idea of extending them as extended editions. We're going to add another hour and a half to these 3 hours, or to these 3 films. I love the idea of putting them out. I just wish it was the theatrical release. What do you think?
I got a good idea for Fathom. Why don't you cut all 3 of them into 1 movie, and then I would go see that.
1 3-hour movie.
1 3-hour movie, and I would love it because I actually loved the first Hobbit. The second Hobbit was like, Third Hobbit I absolutely hated. And so I can't even imagine seeing an extended version of the third Hobbit. I just would fall asleep halfway through it with still hating it.
While still hating it.
Because it was like we're going to talk about CG versus practical later, but this was a horrible version of really bad CG and things that were just kind of not really planned out too well, even if though they might have been storyboarded and there for a long time. When they executed, it was like, really? You're going to have him like hopping along the bridge as it's falling apart and then jumping, and just really unrealistic and bad, kind of like cartoony, like I'm playing a video game, but I don't have the controller. I'm forced to watch somebody else do a bunch of really bad decisions, It really felt like that. Sorry,
that was
Hobbit
like me
fans.
Watching you play The Witcher 3 the other week.
I know, right?
Why are you beating up that horse?
I know. I always go evil. Sorry, that's what I do. But with the Hobbit movies, I love the first trilogy, The Lord of the Rings, and I watched the extended versions. They're cool. I can't even imagine imagine going into the first Hobbit. The first Hobbit was the perfect length of 3.5 hours. I don't know why you're like an extra scene of them cooking bread and tossing biscuits. I mean, I can't even imagine what the second and third ones are going to be. I can't even imagine it. So I'll leave it at that.
You just came up with the name for our new Food Network show, Cooking Bread and Tossing Biscuits with Shep and
With horrible
Campia.
CGI.
with terrible CGI.
Yes.